I'm going to say it, because I'm not going to put around and just say, oh yeah, it's fine, because in my opinion, it's not fine.
Should he be fighting for a world title? Absolutely not. You know, should he be installed in the rankings immediately at what, number 5?
Eddie Hearn didn't hold back when he delivered a fiery critique of Manny Pacquiao's shocking return to the ring at age 46. He called this a bizarre fight and not something many should be jumping in.
All the champions on Boots' radar, I mean, I still think it's bizarre that Manny Pacquiao's fighting for a world title 5 years out of the ring and just not anywhere near at world level anymore.
As Pacquiao prepares to jump straight into a title fight against a younger, active champion in Mario Barrios, Hearn questioned whether fans were witnessing the triumphant return of a legend or the dangerous unraveling of one. With a pointed tone and no sugarcoating, Hearn made it clear that this fight is more of business and not an actual fight.
And it's a business. Like, if it wasn't Manny Pacquiao and some other guy who was in the rankings and was a former champion rang up the WBC and said, stick me in the rankings, do you think they'd do it? No. But it's Manny Pacquiao. And that does mean something as well, by the way. Like, it's a difficult spot for the WBC. But at the same time, he shouldn't be fighting for a world title.
The Matchroom chief was not afraid to make a harsh point because it is how he believes. Age, inactivity, time have already overtaken Pacquiao, and his entering the ring against such a competent young fighter as Barrios is a volcanic eruption in the making. To Hearn, it is not an out-of-the-box kind of comeback. It is a battle that Pacquiao cannot win.
Tell me another star in the welterweight division. There isn't.
Well, it depends if Pacquiao comes back.
Well, he's not going to beat Barrios, so
There's a real possibility.
there's absolutely no chance in the world that he beats Barrios. I mean,
Barrios has been beat multiple times.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look, Pacquiao he's still top 20, top 30 guy in the world. But he couldn't beat Manny Pacquiao. But listen, if he does, fantastic. But right now, the biggest name in the division by a long way is Boots.
Although Eddie Hearn and many critics are still blasting Manny Pacquiao in his bid to stage a comeback, especially those on Twitter whose updates headlined by sports organizers and boxing insiders like Eddie Hearn, the retired and former 8-division king is simply shutting off his ears and letting his rigorous performance in the gym do the talks. Although Pacquiao is 46 years old, he has demonstrated great efforts in training and forcing himself through hard pad work, strength programs, and sparring that resembles his title years. Even Manny Pacquiao has started a YouTube comeback series where day 1 to day 51 training highlights gives the fans a first-hand examination of the fighter as he returned to form through discipline. His regained speed, hard pad work, and sparring intensity have been appreciated by the viewers.
Wow. 16 na Galipart, Las Vegas. Oh.
Meanwhile, his wildcard gym videos depict him being attentive, explosive, serious, his legendary footwork and hand speed still exploding between the strikes. Despite the skeptics on the outside of the ropes, Manny Pacquiao is demonstrating just inside the gym what he is not returning to do it for fun. It is business. Also, after the fight was planned, Manny Pacquiao resumed WBC welterweight ranking at number 5 as he plans to fight Mario Barrios. This was a move to formalize the title bout since the WBC champions emeritus has the privilege to compete in title fight without prior qualification. But weeks later, the sanctioning organization changed its mind and dropped Pacquiao in the rankings, noting that his entry in it was an error. Regardless of this 2 and 4th, the Las Vegas fight is still set in in business and has maintained its fame. Strong objections were raised by Jeff Mayweather concerning inducting Manny Pacquiao into the WBC rankings above Mario Barrios, who is going to fight him in his title match. When considered based on meritocracy and justice, Mayweather felt that it was not right that Pacquiao gets ahead of active fighters who have trained hard to reach the division. He also understood the reason behind Pacquiao being legendary, but wondered what the real intentions of the comeback were, and it may not be competition-based.
It's shocking, and to be honest, it's unfair to guys who have fought to try to rise up to the ranks. That's not cool. I don't think that that's cool, but I mean, it is what it is.
Jeff Mayweather indicated that maybe Pacquiao's not coming back to earn money only, but to further his legacy. In the case of Mayweather, his comeback does not appear as a matter of need, rather as an issue of a champion pride, about having an opportunity to finish his career in the way and on the terms he preferred. He said, "I don't know if he needs it, I still don't know if he needs money, I just think that whether he needs it or not, he wants to just continue to add to his legacy." To most people, it feels like a flashback into the good old days when Pacquiao was the most electric player in the boxing scene, fighting the odds, moving up and down weight, class, and knocking giants. To others, it is an issue of history and, with reservations, a reminder of how time is the real leveler after all, and even the best world champions always fall prey to it after certain periods of time. Eddie Hearn has given a sharp and very cold-blooded critique of the comeback battle of Manny Pacquiao against Mario Barrios. He blasted the move to rate Pacquiao without any fight over the past years as damaging to the quality of championship boxing.
Just be out for 5 years, like already be done, and then come back, have a couple of exhibitions, look terrible, and then phone up the WBC and say, stick me in at number. What are you going at, 5 or 9 or something like that? It's like, but also, it is a business, and I do understand, but it just makes a little bit of a mockery of the World Championships.
It is not a matter of fair competition in the eyes of Hearn, but business to him, and he did not hesitate to term it as a farce of the world title system. He also raised the question of whether or not the training camp is proving too strenuous on a 46-year-old Pacquiao. But Barrios, in case he is not in the elite category, is more than capable of dealing with a faded legend.
He's not the greatest world champion, but I think he's better than what we saw last time out, you know, when he boxed on the Mike Tyson card. And I think he'll beat Manny Pacquiao quite handily. So you can't really, you know, I'm happy for Manny, but it just shouldn't work out like that. And you'll see a shot legend in the ring, which I think is quite sad, you know.
Fighting against Barrios is much more than a fight. It is a metaphoric battle of youth and legacy, freshness and memory. Since Pacquiao, who last fought in 2021 and was beaten by Yordenis Ugas on point, devoted much of the last few years to his political career and charity work, promoter Eddie Hearn also called the fight sad and questioned the sanctioning of a title shot for someone without recent wins or activity. Hearn stated, "It just doesn't feel right. He's a legend, but the sport has to protect its fighters. This is a young man's game." Concerns about Pacquiao's safety, especially given the tragic ends of past comebacks like Muhammad Ali's, are echoed by fighters and fans alike. With his big fight against Mexican Mario Barrios fast approaching, Manny Pacquiao has received the biggest morale boost with another boxing great, Miguel Cotto, giving him a strong support of his clash. The 4-time ex-world champion was not merely visiting at the training camp to be a friend to Pacquiao, he also knows what it will take to be able to fight at the best of levels when years into a career.
Good to see you. Good? New champ. Still a picture? Sure, how are you? Can we do the picture at the sun? How's training going? Good. Okay, guys.
Tim Tszyu bemoaned that of Manny Pacquiao when he came back to combat against Mario Barrios with a judicial opinion, although he said that he felt impressed by Barrios since he was young, active, and was on a roll. He could not ignore the fact that there was no fighter who could steal up those odds, especially in terms of age and the time off, than Pacquiao himself. Tszyu knew how big his experience was, his legacy, and how he is capable of emerging in the biggest moment.
I think Barrios wins. I think young, and it's hard with age. But I think if anyone was going to do it, Manny Pacquiao's the man.
Manny Pacquiao received one of the worst treatments ever after critics discredited his comeback due to his newfound fatherhood. Therefore, Nonito Donaire, the fellow Filipino legend and world champion of multiple divisions, stepped to defend Pacquiao. Donaire admitted that there are issues created about Pacquiao, that he is old and he has been out on a long period, but he maintained that something as good as Pacquiao can never be judged in a normal way. Nonito Donaire added, "He's an icon for a reason. You can't measure him the same way you do others. He'll come in ready, and if Barrios doesn't respect that, he'll find out quick."
4-year absence is not a minor timeout, and the fact that Alvarez went headfirst into a world title fight has attracted a lot of criticism. George Kambosos Jr., although, gave his opinion about the incoming of Manny Pacquiao to fight Mario Barrios, and he provided a very emotional point of view as their friendship and the mutual respect that the two heterophiles had. Kambosos felt that Pacquiao had been outdated in his last fight and even during his last sparring sessions, and it was clear that the veteran fighter had already declined.
Yeah, it's surprising. Obviously, I know Manny very well. You know, he's a true competitor. He's a guy that if you put something in his head, and obviously to create more history, he's a guy that's going to give everything and, you know, try his best. That's what Manny, one thing I always learned with Manny is give 110% and try your best no matter what. So yeah, he's going to give it his all. Again, you can't beat Father Time, but Father Time is hard, and it was very hard watching him fight Lucas. And you could see it.
But nevertheless, he clarified, Pacquiao is not made like other people. He is not as young as he used to be, but he still has the flame of a fighter, and nobody will be more comfortable to turn that switch once again as Manny is.
And then watching the exhibition he had with the Korean guy or the Japanese guy in last year, it was hard to watch. I know Manny, I know the man that I was sparring. I love that guy. So, but again, he's a legend, and he turns it on. He can still do it.
Teddy Atlas, who is a longtime fan of the Manny Pacquiao, started by expressing a lot of reverence towards what the Pacquiao has accomplished in boxing. Atlas stated that human beings forget how historically unique that climb is. He referred to Pacquiao as one of his most favorite fighters and people in the sport, and set it in perspective with arguably how phenomenal his career has been despite how it turned out to be in the modern day.
I love Pacquiao, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite fighters in the whole world. He's moved up from like whatever, incredible weight. People forget about that. That's why I brought it up. How many weight classes this man has really moved up. Incredible, just incredible. But now, yeah, Barrios wouldn't be as big as those other guys, but he's still a guy that's confident. He's a guy that's a world champion. He's a guy who throws a lot of punches. He's a guy who's younger, who's active.
Teddy then made a change of focus to the present-day situation Pacquiao had to deal with Mario Barrios. Although the latter is less experienced and skilled than the previous opposers, Atlas views Barrios as a severe opponent because of his youth, volume punching, and active championship experience. He identified that the fact that Barrios defeated Yordenis Ugas counts, even though Ugas might have been older since he knocked off Pacquiao in 2021. Atlas recalled that fight and how Pacquiao was beaten heavily and was reduced during the end.
I thought he performed well for what he could do at that weight and at that point in his life. But I also thought after that fight, he should probably think about leaving, because he performed as well as he could against a guy who's a good fighter, but against a guy who 5 years earlier he would have handled. And that tells you something. I just think you're playing with fire. That's all I think.
Nevertheless, the mere mention of the name Pacquiao will evoke the passion in the boxing arena. No other person is appreciated as much as he is in the world. Manny has come a long way. His supporters are always there to give support in chat areas and forums, and they never leave their idol. Each jab and shuffle in the training videos is dissected as the word of God. The same rhythm, pace, and steps still attract attention, though it is quite rusty. His trainer Freddie Roach insists Pacquiao still has the fire. Roach said, "I know what he's capable of. If he didn't have it, I'd tell him to walk away. But believe me, he's got something left." Even legends of the sport have chimed in with their thoughts. Roy Jones Jr., who knows a thing or two about comeback attempts, he remarked,
If anyone can pull off a return at this level, it's Manny. He's not just coming back to collect a check, he's coming back to fight. Meanwhile, others are more cautious. Sean Porter, who faced both Pacquiao and Barrios, expressed concern saying Mario's not a tune-up, he's a real threat. I hope Manny knows what he's walking into. Barrios is 29 years old and is in full bloom, riding a winning streak, a former junior welterweight champion who has experienced the best, such as Gervonta Davis and Yordenis Ugas. He currently boasts of WBC welterweight belt following his superb performance against Ugas. He is much admiring of the legacy of Pacquiao, but does not intend to let nostalgia play into his title reign. I'm honored to share the ring with him, but I'm here to win, not admire, Barrios stated. I expect the best version of Pacquiao, and I've prepared for war. In his reaction to a speech made by Manny Pacquiao in the recent past, Roy Jones Jr. responded with real admiration and said how touched he was by the speech. Having watched the career of Pacquiao admirably, Jones claimed that he has never underrated the ability and the will of the fighter in his ring. Yet on this occasion, it was the words of Pacquiao which made a difference. Jones notes that what was so remarkable about that speech was its sincerity and feeling intensity.
Right, what'd you make of the speeches? A lot of emotions, a lot of...
I love them. Very real, very emotional, very real.
To Pacquiao, the fight is not just about competition. It is an opportunity to retrieve incomplete addresses. He has said that he does not feel that his career was ever closed out, especially following his defeat to Ugas in 2021. He had a lot to do with politics and training at that moment, and he does not claim to be 100% involved in the sport. I didn't come back for money. I came back to show I still belong. I'm not here to be remembered. I'm here to make people remember. Bam Rodriguez was not stingy when it comes to giving his prediction of the next fighting match between Manny Pacquiao and Mario Barrios. He simply gave it out. Although he was careful to honor the legendary status of Pacquiao and all he has done in the sport, Rodriguez went ahead to make it known that he feels time has caught up with the Filipino icon. He cited the age and physical fitness of Barrios and the fact that the latter is currently in his prime as far as championship years in the sport are concerned, as well-known facts that cannot be overlooked.
It's right for Manny to come back and fight. I mean,
if he feels like he has it in him, then why not?
What is your prediction for that fight? You know, even people saying that at his age, training camp is different. You know, watching him, do all that is obviously different being in the ring. But how would you break that fight down for us? Obviously, Mario has a height. He has a length.
Yeah. I think Mario is gonna go out there and just put a beating on Manny. I think Manny's a little too old, but he's a legend. He already did what he did, so I really don't see a reason for him to come back. But if he wants to get in the ring with Mario, then I guess Mario has to show him that he has a youth, and Manny Pacquiao should have just stayed retired.
That hunger is what has many fans and even fighters believing in his chances. Teofimo Lopez, who has been a vocal supporter, said, "I think Pacquiao shocks people. He's old, yeah, but he's built different. He's not some washed up name. He's still got that timing, that power. Don't count him out." But the cost is great. Should Pacquiao win, he would go down as one of the oldest champions in the history of the welterweight division, and that itself would only increase his legacy that remains unequaled to date. However, if he loses, especially in a dirty manner, then it might alter the way the latter part of his career is recollected. That is why such a fight is so significant. In the meantime, a more condensed interpretation was provided by Brian Mendoza. He believes that Pacquiao will be going out guns blazing within the early rounds, where he will use his mobility or urgency to create an impact within the first rounds. But Mendoza also had to take into consideration the advantage age could have as the bout wears on.
I think Pacquiao, at least, in the first half of the fight, first 4 to 6, I think he's still going to be able to be kind of show signs of the old Manny Pacquiao. I think the wear and tear and everything, the age will kind of show more later in the fight. But again, so Abel Ramos is a dog. He's definitely a problem when you're in there. But I also think this is Manny Pacquiao. You're gonna rise to the occasion. You're definitely gonna be your sharpest. I actually see him now sharper than he normally is at this stage in camp. This is super early in camp. I think 7 weeks. And like he's already, you know, making improvements.
Have you seen Manny in camp, or are you talking about?
I haven't seen. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about Barrios.
The boxing world stopped breathing when a legend makes his comeback. And when Manny Pacquiao enters the ring once again against Mario Barrios, there is nowhere but an electric charge. Timing can be questioned by the critics. The odds are open to debate by pundits. However, there is still one thing which cannot be denied. The spirit, legacy, and fighting soul of Manny Pacquiao are still attractive. So then the question is, will the icon resurrect, or will Barrios establish his name in the history himself? Leave your guesses in the comments, give that like button a smash, and subscribe because there will be more Fight Night breakdowns